This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumber yard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumber yard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Each week, Tom and I are committed to providing you with retirement planning solutions. We've got another great show for you this weekend. Tom, my friend, this is so fun. We are actually in person in the studio today. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. You're right, Kristin. The very first time, I think we've done 48 shows.
Yes.
This is actually our 47th show.
Yep.
Let's be totally accurate.
Yes.
And you've always been in North Carolina where you live, and I've been in California where I live, but you've been out here to go to a 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀 concert.
Yes, I won tickets to his album release party. It was so fun. So I called Tom and I said, hey, can I come and do a radio show with you in person while I'm in Los Angeles? And I'm so glad it worked out.
So we're up very early in the morning, as we are often sometimes because you're 3 hours ahead of me, but we're up very early and wanting to get this show recorded so that you can get on a plane and go back home.
Exactly. But this is so fun. I love seeing where the magic happens on your end. Of course, we get to be together in the television studio, but it's so much fun to be able to look into your eyes and have this conversation. So
hopefully it'll be a better show.
Oh, it'll be a great show for sure. Well, we know that a lot of folks are concerned about what's going on in the world right now, and rightly so. And the title of today's show is 10 Things to Do to Prepare for Retirement in Uncertain Times. You know, Tom, I look at this list here. We are really living in unprecedented times in a lot of ways. So many challenges, so much uncertainty, international tensions, assassination attempts, inflation, our national debt, market volatility. I mean, there's so much happening right now. I know that when you meet with folks, a lot of people are very concerned, and we get it.
Well, they're concerned. They're concerned about Social Security being cut because that's a very real possibility. Didn't used to be because they've had 25 years to act on it, but they haven't acted on it. And now 2033, when they say they might cut it by 21 to 25%, it's not that far away.
Yep.
That is a huge thing. The presidential campaign, so many people are asking me about that. What's going to happen to the economy after X gets elected or Y gets elected, and the reality is nobody really knows. I mean, things are volatile. They just recently cut the rates on interest, and that sparked the stock market. But just like the stock market's going high, when you go to the grocery store, it's high as well. So
very high.
Just a lot of uncertainty, and people are coming in, particularly people who are about ready to retire, and they're saying, should we retire now or should we wait? And it's always back to the same question about, do you have enough to retire so that you're going to have income for the rest of your life? But man, there are just so many things. The national debt. I mean, it's like, the bad news is we're spending a lot of money and there are a lot of bad things happening. And the real bad news is we're head over heels in debt.
Right. Yeah.
And going in debt faster. And then, so what that makes is the market's up, the market's down. I mean, so many times you'll see the market up 500 points or down 500 points in the same week sometime. So it just brings uncertainty. If not directly fear, it leads to fear.
Yes, or paralysis by analysis, right? Not knowing which way to go, what to do, who to turn to, how to manage our money. And I think it becomes more fearful for people who are approaching retirement, knowing they're going to be on a fixed income. They can't afford to take these volatile swings like you can when you're younger in the stock market.
No, to me, I liken it a little bit to when I lived in Oklahoma for a while, and they would they would come on the television and they would say, look, there's a tornado on the ground. Everybody go to a safe place in your house. And the fear that you had when you knew a tornado was on the ground, it was headed your way. You didn't know if it would hit you or hit somebody else, and you didn't know how devastating it would be. And that's a lot like it is financially right now. There's so many things that could impact us from a financial standpoint, and that uncertainty then brings fear into your eyes, and it's going to hit somebody. It's going to hurt somebody, and it may hurt you. And the best thing to do is exactly what we did in Oklahoma. Have your assets, be financially safe, have your act together, and be ready for anything. And that's what the show's about, preparing for that fear, that uncertainty, all of those things that could happen. Now, it's a could happen.
Right. We don't know.
We don't know.
But that's to your point. It's about being prepared, because we can't control the uncertainty, but you can take steps and control how you manage it. And that's what we're about on the show, is solutions.
In the Social Security workshop that we do all over Southern California, and if you want to know where one of those is in your area, go to our website, Mosley Wealth Management, and I spell my last name Mosley, wealthmanagement.com. Come to one of our Social Security workshops. Well, I'll give you a little hint as to what I'm going to say when I talk about will they reduce Social Security, as they're saying they might have to in 2033. And I say that's the second most important question. The first most important question is, if they reduce Social Security payouts in 2033, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to be prepared for it? You've got 9 years to prepare for that time, and that's where you need a financial plan. You need it laid out. You need all of that thing in place so that that safe house that you have in Oklahoma, when the tornado comes, you're able to run into your financial safe house and know that you're going to be okay.
For sure. And that's why we put so much emphasis on having your very own personalized retirement blueprint. We want to put a plan in your hand. So, of course, we're going to be talking about so much throughout today's show. But if you want to go ahead and get started on this process, it's for no cost, no charge, no obligation. Tom and the team would love to sit down with you and build you your very own retirement blueprint. So to grab yours, you can simply call 888-930-5609. Well, again, we're talking today about 10 things to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times. Tom, should we get to these 10 actionable steps?
Let's dive in.
All right, perfect. So first up, number 1, diversify your investments. This is an important one to explain, because I think most people know the importance of diversification, but you and I both know that there's a difference between what some people think is being diversified and what it means to be truly diversified. So talk about that.
Well, truly diversified, people tend to run to the idea of diversifying between stocks and bonds and maybe real estate, if you wanted to throw in that other asset, and it's the old, don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And so many people stop at looking at their portfolio and their investments and just diversifying among stocks, bonds, and real estate, what it's invested in. But you've also got to back up and say, how is it invested? Is it invested in something that I've already paid the tax on the money that's in there, and I'm only going to have to pay the tax on the gain? That's called a non-qualified type investment.
Right.
Or is it in a 401k or an IRA? And that's a qualified investment, and that means you're still going to have to pay tax on it. So you have to ask yourself one other grid, and that is, where's the tax issue here? Am I going to have to pay it as regular income tax on all of it, or just the capital gains on the growth? There's another way. When you're building a retirement plan, you should think about it too. Am I designating those dollars to provide my guaranteed income for life? Or am I designating those dollars for investments, for money that I want to put at risk? We have gigantic boards in all of our conference rooms and all of our offices spread all over Southern California. And we have bank money, which everybody knows that's the emergency money, the money in the bank. We have principal protected money, where you know when the market goes down, that's sheltered. That's not going to go down. You need a bucket of money that is principal protected. There's several ways to have that. And then there's the red money on the other side, and that's money that's at risk. That's still invested.
Right.
And
for growth purposes.
For growth.
Yeah.
Right. And we call the principal protected, that's put there for income, we call that your paycheck bucket. And then all of that money that's in the investment bucket is your playcheck, what you need to go and enjoy and do. And so there are lots of ways to diversify. And even in what I just said, there's diversification among your risk. Some of it has no risk, and some of it has risk to your tolerance level. So a lot of things go into really having a diversified investment. So you don't need to just look at what it's invested in, but how it's invested, how it's taxed, what it's supposed to be used for. You need diversification.
That was so well said, Tom. And I think that especially diversification by tax class or tax diversification, right? That's something that a lot of folks haven't paid attention to because so many people are used to just investing as much as they possibly can in whatever workplace retirement plan that they're offered. But to your point, that is a really critical way to make sure you're being properly diversified and figuring out how you can even create more of that tax efficiency throughout your full financial plan with whatever lump sum you have accumulated.
Absolutely. 𝗨𝗏 is known as America's authority on IRAs and 401ks. I'm proud to be a master elite advisor with him. I've been with his organization for over 10 years. I train with him 4 days a year on tax laws, tax changes, tax rulings, so you can stay up and help your people with IRAs and 401ks. And Ed says the single biggest thing that will separate a retiree from their dreams is taxes. Yeah. Because you think I've got $1 million in my 401k and my IRAs. It's all my money. It's not all your money. You're going to have to put that before you can spend it. It's going to have to go through the grid of the U.S. tax system, and you're going to have to pay tax on it.
Well, you and I both are passionate about helping folks understand that success in retirement, it's not about how much you have, it's about how much you get to keep. And you have to pay attention to taxes. That's one of the biggest detriments to a lot of folks' nest egg. So I know we've got so many other reasons to get to today and things to do to prepare, but go ahead.
Well, just think about it. Diversifying your investments. If you're listening to us talk today, you've got to say, how am I diversified? What percentage of my money is in stocks, bonds, or real estate? Most people know that, Kristin, but most of you out there don't know what percentage of your money you're going to have to pay tax on, all of it as regular income, or what just on the capital gain. So the tax people don't know, the risk level people don't know. A lot of people, when they get to retirement, they just leave all of their money like they've done for 40 years in one pile. We call it a lumberyard. And what we offer is the opportunity to build a real blueprint, to build a house that you can live in securely, a safe house that you can live in securely with your money through retirement. And we offer that free, complimentary for anybody who calls in.
And that's what we love being able to do is connect with all of you who are listening and be able to get a plan in your hand. So if any of this is resonating with you, if you would like to make sure that you're prepared for these uncertain times, we encourage you to reach out and schedule your complimentary retirement blueprint with a member of Mosley Wealth Management. To claim yours, simply call 888-930-5609. We'll be back with more right after this.
Tom Mosley and the team have helped thousands of folks like you in Southern California plan for their retirement. Now make the call yourself. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Which will you spend more money on in retirement? Food or healthcare? Do you take your investments out of the stock market now that you're retired? How do you know if you've saved enough to stay retired? Will your Social Security check be reduced in the future? How do you produce income from your nest egg to fight costs like taxes and inflation? At Mosley Wealth Management, Tom Mosley and the team take the guessing out of retirement planning by devising a written plan that accounts for all of your concerns. The bigger question, are you going to be okay in retirement? Find out the answers to your retirement questions by calling Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. 888-930-5609. Income, investments, Social Security, Medicare, longevity, health care. We cover these solutions and all of those other questions on your mind to answer, are you going to be okay in retirement? Call Tom Mosley and Mosley Wealth Management for your own complimentary retirement review. 888-930-5609.
Welcome back, Southern California. You're listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. If you're just tuning in and joining us today, we are discussing the 10 things you need to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times. And we were talking during the commercial break. It is so fun to actually be in person together doing this show. I'm having
Live
a blast
from
with
Anaheim,
you.
California.
I know. I love it.
From the studios of Mosley Wealth Management.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Well, we're now on number 2, which is building an emergency fund. And you mentioned something in the first segment I know you wanted to help folks understand.
Yeah, we talked about in the first segment that when you're diversifying your investments, you need principal protected money, and you also need money that's at risk in the market, because most people, when they retire, they're in their 60s, some in their 50s, some wait till they're 70. I get it. But most of the time you don't have enough money just to, I call it pulling the flaps and just become a glider with no engine. You still need some money at risk to grow. But the third bucket you need is that emergency fund. I like to say stuff still happens.
Oh, for sure, right? Broken down car,
Yeah.
leaky roof,
Yeah.
you name it, right?
You got it. It's not the kid breaking the arm anymore. It might be the grandkid breaking the arm. It might be the grandkid going to a private school. It might be other things that I've seen, people that were in retirement that all of a sudden their kids got laid off and they couldn't afford to pay something for the kids. So you're going to cover your grandkids in a situation like that. Something where you need money and you're building a retirement house to live in with the blueprint. Now think about it. And you don't want to have all of your money tied up, designated in the retirement plan, because when an emergency comes, you want that money that you can go get, that you can go have your hands on in a very speedy manner, let's call it that way. But you also don't want to have all of that money set aside in a retirement plan and then have to go take a piece of that retirement plan out. You want to separately build that retirement plan, but also have money in the bank. Now, let me encourage some of you, because this has happened recently in our conference room with me. I've talked to people about having $50,000, $60,000. Some of you say, well, that's what I'd like to have. Some of you say, no, I'd like to have only 10. Okay, it's a feel question. It's not a what's the right amount of money to have. I generally ask people, what's the biggest emergency you've ever had? And in that question, in 29 years, the biggest emergency anybody's ever come up with was a $19,000 roof they had to put on in an emergency. It's one of those periods where it really didn't rain much for 4 or 5 years here in Southern California, and then it started raining a lot and it started leaking a lot, if you understand. So they needed it very, very quickly. But $19,000 is the largest amount. So you don't need to put a couple of $100,000 in most cases. Sometimes I have people who do, because they run a business and they want to make sure that they have liquid money available to them, and they mingle what they do with the business and personal, like a lot of people do when they're running a business. But the bottom line is you have to have an emergency fund, because stuff still happens, and you don't want that emergency fund to have to pull a wall out of that house you're building for retirement.
Right. And it's interesting, because I've often heard 3 to 6 months, or sometimes you hear 6 to 12 months of expenses. Really, that's an individual choice, right? I mean, how do you typically advise people at Mosley Wealth Management of how much to have in an emergency fund?
I'm real simple with it. I start throwing out amounts, and then I get higher and higher, and I can almost read their face when they get to where they're comfortable. Because if you tie all your money up, you're in trouble. But if you don't have any money set aside for the emergency fund, you're in trouble. So it's a feel question, because like I say, and it has to do with risk. Because some people say, I just don't want to risk not being able to get a hold of that money. It's a different kind of risk that you're running, and that's accessibility to your money. And some people have had situations where maybe they've needed money and they've had it all tied up, and they haven't had it where they can get their hands on it, so they want to have more. So that's, again, what we're doing right now. You and I talking through this is exactly what we would do with all of you who are out there listening when we build that retirement blueprint for you. We'd say, how much money do you feel like you need to leave in the bank, in an emergency fund, and something you can get your hands on? Now, here's something I want you to to be careful, though. Right now, with interest rates still higher than they used to be, with inflation higher, yes, they've come down some, but you still need to go to the bank, because I find a lot of people are still setting in a money market that's paying them 0.5% per year, and there may be a money market available that's paying 2, 3, or even 4% in some of the banks. I have one at my bank. I won't give any promos to my bank, but I have one at my bank that pays 4.25% interest. Well, that's significantly more than 0.5% interest. And if you've got $100,000 in that account, it's the difference of making $500 in a year versus making $4,250 in a year. Be careful not to tie your money in your emergency fund up in a CD.
Yes, and because of the accessibility, right?
Right, because if you remember the CD commercials we used to have, they would always say substantial interest penalty for early withdrawal, because you may leave that money in that CD for almost the entire period, but then have to have it in an emergency, take the money out, and they legitimately and legally could maybe take back all of that extra interest that you've made.
And so again, it's making sure you have the amount that's right for you in the right place so that you can access it. And, this is why you've said this before on the show, Tom. When people call in and say, hey, can you send me one of those retirement blueprints? That's not how this works, because you start with a blank piece of paper with everyone who comes in, and you build it from the ground up for them based on their individual situation. And of course, this is a really important thing. So again, to get your complimentary retirement blueprint, that number to call is 888-930-5609. Number 3 on the list: pay down debt. And we recently did an entire show where we talked about the importance of balancing debt with saving for retirement. This is a huge issue that for a lot of folks. And if people want to go back and listen to that previous episode, where can they do that?
Well, you can hear any or all of our radio shows and our TV shows. You can go to our YouTube channel, Mosley Wealth Management, and you can see them. And then I also want to announce for the first time that we've just now got all of our past radio shows. They're now available if you use Spotify or if you use Apple Music and you've got an account there. You can go to podcast shows and you can type in Right on the Money Radio Show, and you can listen to any of our radio shows. And and we did just recently do one in the past couple of weeks on debt and getting out of debt and carrying debt in retirement. And so many of you, okay, fess up, okay? So many of you are carrying debt, and it's one thing to carry debt, but it's another thing just to let it languish and let it stay there. You need to take care of that. Paying down your debt is number 3 in the 10 things you need to do to prepare for a retirement in uncertain times. Listen, when you've got, it's like the old story of the 2 friends who were out walking in the woods, and they ran into a bear. Okay. And the first guy sat down and he said, okay, just a minute. And he pulled out of his backpack his tennis shoes, his running shoes. And his friend said, you can't outrun that bear. And he said, no, I just have to outrun you. Right. Okay. And so when you see a bear in the woods, the point is you need to be running and you need to not have a lot of weight on you. And if there are uncertain times, if there's a downturn in your portfolio, if there's a downturn, you get laid off. If you're looking for X amount of dollars in Social Security and you're only going to get 75% of it or 79% of it, you don't need to be carrying debt.
Yes.
And recently they did a study, Forbes did a study, and the average percentage interest on the credit card. Oh, I know you've got this one that's really low, but the average percentage is 27.62%.
Wow.
And that is just amazing. That means on a $10,000 debt that you have to your credit card, you're paying $2,762 a year just to pay the debt. Kristin, we need to get into the credit card company business. You know what I mean? Where we loan money. But no, we don't. You need to stay out of debt. And debt right now, because of inflation, there's several things that are happening. Savings accounts are being drained. Okay? Credit cards are being flooded and maxed out, and credit card debt right now, as of last month, was higher than it has ever been in the United States. So get out of debt.
Yes.
When you have to run and you want to outrun the bear, and maybe get your friend to outrun the bear as well. But if your friend is carrying debt and you're not, you're going to be able to outrun your friend in retirement. So that's why you need to get out of debt.
You know, another thing that's been happening, Tom, I know we've talked about this in the past, there's also an unprecedented amount of folks who are tapping into their retirement accounts early, which is so detrimental for so many reasons. Not only tax implications, that they're being hit with that early withdrawal penalty if it's prior to age 59 and a half. The point is, we know that there's a lot of challenging priorities. You can help someone build a plan to figure out how to outrun the bear, so to speak, how to be able to balance all these different things. We know it's challenging. We don't mean to make light of it. We know a lot of folks are really struggling right now, but this is what you help folks navigate through.
That is exactly true. I mean, there's the old saying that the best time to fix the roof is before it starts raining. Mm-hmm. And right now there are uncertain things. We've mentioned a lot of them. You can probably add some uncertain things. And these are uncertain things that are happening out in the world. Yep. There's so many families that I run into that I meet probably 15 to 20 different people every single week in the conference room. I may meet 100 people in the classroom when we're teaching every week. And there's so many things in your life out there that are uncertain right now that don't have anything to do with money, but they end up having to do with money, and they impact you. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your marriage, and things like that. Those are the kind of things that if you've got a plan, if you've got a blueprint, before it starts raining, it helps you weather the rain.
Yes, and that's what we want to prepare for you. So if you would like to get your complimentary retirement blueprint, it's really easy. All you need to do is call 888-930-5609 and schedule your time to come in and meet with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management. Several offices scattered throughout Southern California and growing. I know we have updates in that department too. Yes. But the point is that we are here to help and serve you. So again, 888-930-5609. We'll be back with more things to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times right after this.
This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. Get your own no-cost complimentary retirement plan review. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
What concerns you most when it comes to retirement? Is it the fear of running out of money, the uncertainty of market volatility, or maybe it's healthcare costs as you grow older? At Mosley Wealth Management, we'll work together to develop a comprehensive retirement plan for you that is designed to help protect and grow your wealth while also aligning with your lifestyle goals. Call Tom Mosley of Right on the Money and Mosley Wealth Management at 888-930-5609 to learn how we can help you work towards achieving financial security and peace of mind in retirement. Our team can help you navigate the complexities of retirement planning with confidence with a detailed written plan for retirement. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management for your complimentary retirement blueprint. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Social Security is easy, right? The question is, should I take it now or later? Well, there are dozens and dozens of ways to take Social Security if you're single, and even more if you're married. This one-time decision can also affect how much you pay in taxes, how much you receive in lifetime payouts for you and possibly your spouse. You could increase your nest egg by tens of thousands of dollars just by being informed, and unfortunately, the Social Security office is not allowed to give you comprehensive financial planning advice. You've paid into Social Security for decades. Don't you want to make sure you optimize your retirement income? Build your Social Security benefits into a retirement income plan with all of your assets. Get your own tailored, no-cost Social Security income strategy with Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. If you're just joining us today, we are discussing the 10 things to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times. Before we pick back up with number 4, Tom, I would love for you to share with our listeners. I know you are growing and expanding, but just remind folks where you are located throughout Southern California.
Our main office is in Anaheim. But that doesn't mean you have to come to Anaheim to meet with us. We have an office in Encino. We have an office in Arcadia. We have an office in Ontario. And down in San Diego, we have an office in Scripps Ranch, right off the 15 freeway at the Carroll Canyon exit. So we're all over Southern California. Within the next 6 months, Kristin, we're going to be in West LA with an office, and we're going to be in northern San Diego County with an office. So we continue to expand, we continue to grow, we continue to be able to help people. Because people are responding to what we're talking about here on the radio, and they're saying, that's scratching an itch I have. I need that. I need that help. I need that blueprint. And a lot of people say, well, what's in that blueprint? What do you mean blueprint? Blueprint, you talk about it. That's an in-depth review of your entire retirement overview, just everything that's there. And what it does is we take all of your portfolios where they are right now. We test your income sources. We test it because most people come in with the question, can I retire? Which means, can I afford to retire? Right. Which means, if I retire right now, will I run out of money when I'm 90 years old?
Which means, am I going to be okay?
Am I going to be okay? And when you leave the office with a retirement blueprint, with a plan in place, you say, what does that mean? What does it do for me? What does it cause? Well, it causes you, here's the big thing, it causes you, if you know you have a lifetime retirement plan, not just an investment strategy, not just a pile of money, but you have addressed your income, you've addressed your investments, you've addressed everything about that retirement plan in that blueprint. That allows you to go places during your go-go years that you would not normally go. I have helped so many people who've been retired 2 or 3 years, and they're working with somebody who continues to say, well, hold on, don't spend too much, because we don't know what it's going to be like when you're 85 or 90. But if you can address your income for life, that gives you the ability to go spend your play check, your play money, when you're in your 60s, your go-go years, and to go enjoy it. And what it means is it gives you that ability to sleep well at night when you're in Europe.
Yes.
Instead of worrying about what that meal cost you at that fancy restaurant you've heard about all your life and you've wanted to go to all your life. You just did it.
Yes.
You just enjoyed it, and you have the peace of mind to know that I'm not going to run out of money when I'm 90 years old.
It's a game changer when you have it written down and being able to see that. It is so, so helpful. So again, that's why we encourage you to connect with Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can call 888-930-5609. You can also visit the website at mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's MOSLEY wealthmanagement.com. Next up on our list of 10 things to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times, maximize your retirement contributions. This is a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's the biggest thing that everybody has. You say, everybody has? I don't have a 401k. Right? If you've got a 401k, you need to be participating in it. If you're under 50, you can put $23,000 a year and save paying tax on that this year in a regular 401k. If you have a Roth 401k, and you have some tax wisdom, you might want to go ahead and pay the tax on it this year, put the $23,000 in the Roth 401k, and then you'll never pay tax on it again. Now, ding, 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 bonus here for everybody over 50. There are some bonuses to being over 50. You can additionally put $7,500 as a catch-up provision. So you can put a total of $30,500 into a 401k, 403b. You may have a 457. Most of those plans are individual to your company. Those are available. You may have a simple, Roth or a simple IRA or those kind of things. Let's get into IRAs. You say, I don't have a 401k. Then you probably can get into an IRA or a Roth IRA. A lot lower on the contributions. You can put $7,000 a year into a regular IRA or into a Roth IRA. And then if you're over 50, you get a $1,000 bonus. You can put an additional $1,000. So use it if it's available. And don't make an excuse if you don't have one. You need to get one started. Call us up. Tell us you need to start a Roth or a regular IRA. I don't have a 401k, and we can help you do that.
And it's amazing how that catch-up contribution, of course, the numbers we just gave you were for 2024, how much you can make up for lost time when you utilize that catch-up contribution if you're over age 50.
You really can. And if you're younger and you start out, you think, well, I can't put $23,000 into a 401k, and that may be true. I mean, that may be a third of your salary when you're 25 years old. Well, here's what you do. Give yourself a raise when you get a raise, and give your 401k a raise, or your IRA a raise. In other words, if you get a 4% raise, give 2% to yourself. Hey, you got a bonus, you got a raise, and give 2% to your IRA or to your 401k. And over a period of time, if you get 5 or 6 or 7 raises, you'll be amazed at what you're putting into the 401k. And because of compound interest, you'll be amazed at how quickly that grows.
Oh, yes. And if you automate it, then you don't miss it. And boom, it's amazing. Compound interest really is that eighth wonder of the world, isn't it?
I don't know whether the compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, Kristin, or automation. Because if it, like you, to your point, if it just comes out of your paycheck and you get to the point where you don't make it, you just contribute on a regular basis, and it gives you a great feeling to know that money is built up there. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't really know what to do with my 401k. Well, that's where you're in real luck, because what our group does, what all 7 of our advisors do, that can meet with you at any of those 5 offices I rattled off a little bit earlier, we can sit down with you and we could go through 401k coaching. In other words, we look at all of your options. Doesn't cost you anything. You like that out there? It doesn't cost you anything, but we look at all of your options, and based on your risk level, we put you in your 401k. We encourage you to put that money in certain things that match you and your risk level.
Yes, and that 401k coaching is something that really does set you and the team apart. So if you're needing help with that, we definitely encourage you to reach out. Number 5, Tom, create a retirement budget.
So many people are concerned about how much they have, and they're very unconcerned or illiterate or in the dark about how much they need. And how much you need is, you start by saying, what am I spending right now? If that person we talked about earlier comes in and says, can I retire? Can I afford to retire? We have to know what they're spending on a regular basis. So we help them develop a budget. And you say, well, it's not a retirement budget. Right. But you work from the known to the unknown. Number 5 is create that budget. You've got to know how much you need to spend. Let's talk about the uncertain times when they come along. In any budget, there are negotiables or variables or things that we'll spend if we need to, like going out to eat.
Right.
Like maybe that extra vacation. Well, build it into your budget, but then in uncertain times or in downturns, when your money's not making what it should be making, or you're just not earning what you should be earning, or you get laid off, then you've got a place to go and cut. You've got a place that you can find money that you can cut. But you don't have that if you're just, I think of the biology classes I took where it was just the amoeba, the blob, that was just there. And then you've got to build structure by knowing what you're spending and when you're spending it.
Well, and this ties in perfectly to number 6, which is review and adjust your portfolio. And it's adjusting your plan. It's a living plan. It's not something that you do one time, you don't ever look at it again. You have to be able to make tweaks and adjustments based on changes in your own life, based on uncertain times. But you can't do that if you haven't built the plan to start with.
That's exactly right. How can you adjust something that's not in place?
Right. Yep.
And adjusting your portfolio, I mentioned earlier when we were talking about money in the bank, and so many people are just on autopilot, and they've got that money market that's paying 0.5% interest, and there are money markets that are paying 4, 5, and 6, maybe 8 times that right now. So you've got to adjust depending on good times like now, or bad times if things get uncertain. People say, well, what's going to happen after the election? What's going to happen in 2025? I don't know. I know you need to be prepared, and reviewing where you're at right now in your portfolio. You need to know 2 things for sure. You need to know your risk tolerance. In other words, what you're able to tolerate. Now, what we do at our place is we don't talk about vague terms. Like, we do talk about these terms, but we go deeper than that. But we don't just talk about, well, you're conservative, or you're balanced, or you're moderate, or you're growth oriented.
It's not a cookie cutter approach.
It's not a cookie cutter approach. It's actually a risk score from 0 to 100. And it's funny how God plays games on married folks. I've got some that he was a 22 and she was a 94 on their risk tolerance. In other words, she could tolerate anything and he could almost tolerate nothing.
Right.
And that's the way God works sometimes to put people together.
That sounds like you're describing my own marriage. That's how Charlie and I are. We have a spender, we have a saver, we've got one with different risk tolerance. That's very common in marriages, for sure.
No, I see it all the time. I very seldom see two people that are aligned together in their risk tolerance. But there's a second risk tolerance, and that is the risk tolerance of your portfolio. And it has a score as well. Recently, I had a couple that were in their low 70s, and their tolerance was around 34, and their broker had them at an 89 risk level.
So common.
It is, and here's the deal. You like it as long as the market's going up. Market starts to take a downturn, uncertain times like we're talking about now, you're in trouble. Hey, where are you in your risk score? Well, you need to call and find out.
And the way you do that is simply by calling 888-930-5609. If any of this is resonating with you and you would like some help making sure that your plan is solid and that you're prepared for these uncertain times, we encourage you to reach out and claim your very own retirement blueprint. We'll be back with more right after this.
For your own no-cost retirement blueprint, call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Do you know how you'll generate income from your investments along with your Social Security in retirement? In our opinion, it's never too early to start the income planning process for your future. An income plan can help you work towards creating a steady stream of income to support you throughout your retirement years. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Take control today and start income planning for your retirement. Call the team at Mosley Wealth Management so we can help you design a complimentary written income plan to help you live the retirement you've always wanted. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back, Southern California. You're listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and we are discussing today the 10 things you need to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times. Tom, you mentioned earlier about folks calling in to both the radio show, the TV show, the response you're getting. I have the privilege of seeing those reports each week, and what I love the most is we know that that's lives being changed and changed for the better. And we know people are hungry for this information. They are hungry for help. Really, people are wanting to know what to do to be prepared, especially in these volatile times. And I love everything that you're doing to really connect with folks, and it's just such a privilege to do that.
I've told you before, and we've said on this radio show, and I see it every week, my why is the 𝗧. When they sit around and they've asked that question, can we afford to retire? Are we going to run out of money before we die? Which is the biggest question and fear that people have, okay? When I see them sit across the table and they do that, and they just exhale, and that is such a good feeling.
It is.
Because you can just see that come across, and you've given them the ability to have confidence they're not going to run out of money. That is a great, that's why I'm in my low 70s, okay? But I don't have a retirement plan for myself because I totally enjoy what I'm doing and the people's lives that I'm impacting.
I know you do. Well, let's keep going because I know we were committed to getting through these final 4 things on the list, right? I can count here. All right, number 7, consider healthcare costs.
Yeah, don't think Medicare is going to do it all. It's really not. In fact, if you're working and you've got access to what is increasingly available to more and more people, HSAs, health savings accounts, you might want to check that out. You might want to see if you can get involved in it because you can put it in to an HSA, money into an HSA, and it's a tax-advantaged account, and then you can spend that for yourself or your spouse in retirement. And when you're over 65, you can spend that for healthcare costs. How much are healthcare costs going to be? Well, I don't mean for you to run off the road if you're driving, but Fidelity just recently did a study, and they upped it if you're married and you're 65 years old each, you're probably going to spend around $316,000 on health care.
And that number did not include long-term care, correct?
It does not include long-term care. It includes Medicare premiums, co-pays, deductibles, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And Medicare doesn't cover everything.
It doesn't.
I run into times where people call me on a regular basis, probably at least once a month. Somebody calls and says, Medicare won't take care of a test. It costs $30,000. I need that much money out of my account. Well, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about $316,000. Long-term care, if you are skilled nursing, yes, Medicare will help you with that. If you break your shoulder or break your arm and you have to go for 21 days into a skilled nursing and they are therapeutic where they get you back to where you can use that arm or use that shoulder, okay, they'll pay for that. But after 21 days, you've got some limited coverage up to 100. But custodial care, when you just need that long-term care, Medicare doesn't pay for it. That's got to come out of your pocket or your plan.
Yeah, and it's so important to plan for that. I think that number, when you think about needing that much extra money just for healthcare alone, and that's the hard part about planning for some of these things. You don't know if you're going to need it or not, right?
Right.
But you have to be prepared for it. All right, number 8 on the list, explore semi-retirement. We're hearing more and more about this term, having a hybrid retirement, if you will. Explain what we're talking about here.
A hybrid retirement just means you're doing both, a little bit like I'm in a hybrid retirement right now. I'm working like crazy.
I was going to say, I don't think there's anything hybrid about what you do, Tom.
I know. And you cautioned me on previous shows. I said, when you said, what are you doing or how are you doing
this week?
And I said, not much, and stuff
like that. That's so not true.
I'm seeing 25 people this week and doing 3 radio shows. And
a couple live events.
Yes,
and,
that's true.
yes.
But I work really, really hard, but don't try to reach me from October the 11th until October 27th because I'm going to Europe.
Yes.
And a lot of people, particularly if you own your own business and you're in a situation, you need to plane it down, is what I call it. It's like, when you're 200 miles from landing in L.A., if you've come across country, you feel the engines cut. And the pilot's about to come on and they're planing that engine down so that they can lower it and they can land and they can retire. And I think sometimes people use retirement and they don't just stop automatically, but they work part-time if they're available to do that, and then they play part-time, or sometimes I've got so many people right now, Kristin, are coming to me in their 50s and they're saying, we're tired of the stress.
Yes.
And I look at their position, and recently a couple, he was making $215,000 a year. She was making $180,000 a year, and they were 54 and 53. And they both said, we just don't want to work this hard anymore. We just don't want to work this hard. And I said, well, and we went through and we established a budget for them as to what they needed. And we found out this is what you both need to make. And they're out searching for jobs that are less stress and less money, but less stress, because life is more important, and living your life and enjoying your life is more important than just having all the money in the world.
And I think because we're not promised tomorrow, this is resonating with a lot of folks. A lot of people, are wanting to go ahead and enjoy life. But the hard part is you can't always just go from working full-time to cutting cold turkey. There's emotional ramifications of that, psychological ramifications. So we understand that, but I'm finding a lot more folks are doing this kind of, let me just try it on, right? Let me try on taking a little more time off. Let me try working a little bit less. And that's it. A lot of people are doing this hybrid retirement, and for good reason.
Well, sometimes I've jokingly said people work when they're 70 years old because they're broke. People work when they're 70 years old because they're bored. And they just want to do it. And people work sometimes to supplement, and they're not broke, but they don't have all the money in that retirement pot, and they're wanting to make sure that they've got good health. They want to make sure they've got enough money if they reach 90, if their spouse reaches 90. And then one guy told me one time, he said, I went back to work to save my marriage. He said, because it was one thing for us to see each other a little bit on the weekend and each night. And now it's 24/7, 365. So whatever.
Right. Whatever the reason is.
And the stat is people that are in their early 70s, 43% of those people are working. They're making some kind of income. Maybe you may work for you. So, and one caution on that. If you turn on Social Security before your full retirement age, you cannot make up until your full retirement age, if you turn it on at 62, 63, 64, you cannot make more than $22,320 a year, or they'll start taking, for every $2 over that, they'll take $1 back.
Yes, those give backs. We always want to highlight that because a lot of folks are unaware. Well, that brings us to number 9, evaluating your Social Security strategy.
Oh my goodness, that's the twilight zone right now, because we've always thought they would never touch our Social Security. We've paid into it all our lives. And now they're telling us in 2033 they may have to cut benefits to between 75 and 79% of what should be paid out. Here's my big caution about Social Security. It's the reason we do so many Social Security workshops all over Southern California. Every week you can find one, okay? And it's live, and you'll meet with us, and we'll go over 1 hour. We'll go over everything we can talk about in an hour about Social Security. The problem is, if you don't come to our workshop, if you don't talk to somebody who's knowledgeable on Social Security, you're probably going to get your advice from Bob at the water cooler or Sally in the break room. And be careful, because Bob and Sally are absolutely honest, upstanding people telling you exactly how they should take their Social Security. But that may be the exact wrong formula for you to take your Social Security. You need to, it is 41% of the average American's income in retirement now. Humongous.
It's a huge chunk.
We shouldn't have put it number 9, okay? But it is humongous. So you have to do it right. And you don't get a chance to change it or to make a do-over. You can do some things within the first year, but once you've solidified that thing, it is set for life. Make sure you do it right.
Absolutely. We could do an entire another show. We probably will in the future just on Social Security alone. Well, we only have a couple minutes left in today's show. That brings us to number 10 of the 10 things to do to prepare for retirement in uncertain times. Take it away, Tom.
I love it. Prepare for market volatility, for ups and downs. How do you do that? Let me review and let me show you what I'm talking about. Is the market going to go up and down? Yes. I have people call me all the time. They say, you think the market's going to go up or down? And I say, yes, I'm sure.
We just don't know when.
We don't know when.
But that's
we don't know how much. But here's how you prepare. The number 1 thing we talked about today was diversifying your investments. Number 2, have an emergency fund. Number 3, get rid of your debt. You see how you prepare? Number 4, make sure you're putting everything you can into those retirement accounts so you have a lumberyard to build a plan with once you do retire. Number 5, make sure you know how much you're spending. Make sure you know what you're spending it on, so therefore if you do need to cut, you know where you're going to cut. Number 6, make sure you know your risk level of your portfolio and adjust it. As you grow older, it's probably going to go down in risk level. Number 7, take care of your health care costs. Number 8, you might want to work part-time in a hybrid retirement. And number 9, make sure you take the right election on Social Security. When you do that, you've got a plan.
Yes.
You've done those 9 things. Number 10 is market volatility. It's like the old football team on Thursday afternoon when we were preparing for a Friday game. If we'd done everything we could to prepare, we'd walk into the coach's room and we'd say, hey, the hay's in the barn, bring it on.
Yes.
So if market volatility comes and you've got a plan, bring it on.
And you can weather any storm that comes your way. The point of today's show was to highlight, we know that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things going on in our world today that you can't control. But you know what you can control? How you manage it, what you do to prepare for yourself in these uncertain times. So we hope that you found this to be helpful and valuable. That's how it's intended each and every week. Really, the real magic will happen when you come in and sit down with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management to get your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. To claim yours, simply call 888-930-5609 or visit us at mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's MOSLEY wealthmanagement.com. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this weekend. We're so glad that you were here with us. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
For your own no-cost retirement blueprint, call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. That's 888-930-5609. Investment advisory services services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties, which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial Services.